The final public test server for Grounded is now open if you were lucky enough to be playing it through Steam. Depending on when you're watching this, it should hopefully also be available on Xbox and the Game Pass version for both consoles and on PC. By the time you're watching this, there was a delay in releasing or opening the public test server for that version for whatever reason. Not sure what the issue is, but I was able to play it through Steam because I do have it on both Game Pass and Steam. And what I want to do in this video is I want to go through the patch notes. I'm not going to cover everything in the patch notes. I just want to hit the major points and talk about my experience with them because I did play for about 3 or 4 hours in the public test server, trying out new stuff, looking at new stuff, wandering around the map. And I just wanted to point out some things as well as give you some tips for things you might want to consider doing if you're either haven't started playing the public test server or you're going to actually wait for the update to fully drop in a couple of weeks. There's a couple of things you're going to want to do because a couple of the resources in the game have been or will be removed from the game once this update drops. So making use of those now will get you the most bang for your buck instead of having them just be kind of like relics that are just going to sit in chests. So real quick, let's start at the top. And the final update is 0.14. It's called the Homestretch. It says this update will be notably lighter than previous ones as we've been putting most of our focus on 1.0. This was fully expected. I can tell you from playing through it, there are no new bugs, no new armors, no new weapons, nothing like that. There are some new things, but the main constant stuff you're probably used to seeing in updates, there's none of that in this game. They did update part of the upper map and part of the northern part of the map and the northeastern part of the map. They did update more of that, but there's still room for that. There's still more work to be done up there. There are no new bugs up there or anything like that. Nothing popular in that area. So if that's what you were looking for, you shouldn't have been expecting that because they've kind of made it pretty clear that was not going to happen. But let's take a look at what was added in this update. So new features. You can now convert non-custom games to custom. This is huge. I know a lot of people have been saying that there's a lot of people who do not like the faction reactivity or the faction raids, and they would like to be able to turn this off. So now being able to convert your non-custom games to custom games is going to allow you to be able to change those settings, which is amazing because most of us have old saves that are at least a couple 100 days old, if not more, especially if you've been playing for the last year to 2 years. Because basically because custom saves are newer. So that's definitely a great change and will allow everyone to be able to customize how they want to play the game. It also means more likely than not that we're going to be able to keep our 1.0 or saves after 1.0, as they've said they're going to try to do that. So having this put in there means it's most likely going to happen. You'll be able to continue your existing saves. The Gnat Pet was added. Basically, you can now tame gnats. The way you tame them is by making, what was it called, spoiled food slurry or something like that. So basically you have to have spoiled meat, you turn it into spoiled meat slurry, and then you can tame them. I did do this while I was streaming, got myself a pet gnat over on Aphid Island over by Rash, was making my way back to my house, and for some I went underwater, I think, and my pet gnat decided to follow me underwater and drown. So I quickly lost my gnat pet. So I think that might have been the quickest time from taming a pet to losing a pet in the history of Grounded, but that's okay. He now has a little tombstone, which I will be sure to never go back to because, yeah. Next up is a rest time lapse. So now when you sleep, while you're sleeping, there's going to be a time lapse, which kind of shows the time passing through the yard. Depending on the different times you sleep, you're going to see different things. It's pretty cool. Nice little addition there. Burgle moves. I didn't really notice much of this, but Burgle kind of moves around the oak tree lab, or the oak lab. So that's just kind of like a nice little thing there. New features, Windows Store Build. What does this say? Import. You can now, the save game interface now allows importing Steam saves into the Windows Store version of the game. I'm not sure if you can do it the other way around. That'll be interesting to see because I do have, my main save is on the Windows version. It'll be interesting to see if you can go back and forth. But if you've been playing on Steam, you can now import your saves to Windows, have it on both. New crafting content, the rotten meat slurry. That's what I was just talking about for taming gnats. The cookery is a big addition. So meals are now crafted at the cookery building instead of the oven. Meals can be created much earlier in the game. Now, this makes absolute sense because honestly, if you've played through the game at least once or twice or more, you'll know that now that by the time you get the oven, you would have access to many cooking recipes before you can get the charcoal. Unless you're kind of like super slick and can get up there and get the charcoal early on, the average player is not going to get charcoal until much later in the game. So being able to not have to have that to make food makes sense now. Then the cookery is unlocked by purchasing the Cooking 101 Science Shop, which is one of the default unlocks you can purchase after unlocking the ASL station. So basically, once you repair Burgle, do the little stuff that's inside the Oak Lab, you will be able to purchase this from them. I believe it was 1,000 raw science, so it's pretty cheap. So you can get that as well as the smithing station pretty early on. The smithing station was already in a previous update. Next up is going to be changes in tuning. This is the big change to the update. Armor and weapon upgrade changes. First bullet, quartzite, leather scraps, and leather plates has been removed from the game. I went into, yeah, I mean, I went in and verified this. They'll still be there if you have them, but you can't do anything with them. You can no longer form quartzite. You can no longer craft leather scraps or leather plates. What that means is, and here's the big tip I was going to give. If you have a bunch of quartzite, you have a bunch of leather scraps and a bunch of leather plates, the thing you want to do right now before you opt into this public test server, or if you're not opting into it before the update goes live, most likely in a couple of weeks, you want to use all that quartzite and all of the leather scraps and leather plates to upgrade your gear right now, because it's just going to disappear. I turned all my quartzite into quartzite globs. I believe that they'll be transferred over. Somebody did say that they did transfer over, so they should turn into the new mighty globs. There's also mighty jewels. The leather scraps and leather plates are going to be completely gone from the game. So if you have those, upgrade your stuff. Now, I did spend quite a bit of time crafting a bunch of every kind of plate, expecting when the new update dropped to still be able to use them. That time's now lost, but there's nothing I can do about that. So I will say that I do like the new upgrade system, which we're going to look at right now. Upgrades now require a unique non-respawning resource found across the yard. Armor upgrades require fashion nuggets. Levels 1 through 5 require fashion nuggets. 6 and 7 require cool fashion nuggets. 8 and 9 require rad fashion nuggets. The weapon upgrades now require tough nuggets. 1 to 5 require tough nuggets. 6 and 7 require globs similar to before, but are crafted out of the cool tough nuggets. So basically what you'll do is you'll use the cool tough nugget and craft that with the different things. So either in the case of the quartzite, it'll be the tough nuggets. In the case of the other ones, it'll be salt shards, mint shards, or spicy shards. And then the levels 8 and 9 require jewels similar to before, but are crafted out of rad tough nuggets. These are currently not in the game. So if you want to get your gear to level 8 or 9 right now, you need to do that before you opt into the public test server, before this update goes live, because they're making it where this resource right here, you cannot make it, and you're not going to be able to get this after this update goes live or in the public test server. It's going to be saved for 1.0. Cost of upgrades have been dramatically reduced. Levels 1 to 5. Weapons start at 2, increase linearly 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Armor start at 1 and increase linearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically what this means is you're going to be spending 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Far cheaper than before. Levels 6 and 7, weapons start at 5, so they go 5, 10, and armor goes 2, 4. Pretty cheap there. Levels 8 and 9 go 5, 10, and then 2, 4. These are kind of similar to what they were before, but just looking at it is far cheaper. It's going to be far easier to upgrade things, especially your armor. You're easily going to be able to upgrade your armor because you can, well, I guess we'll get this in a second. Tough nuggets can be found by harvesting stones of toughness. Fashion nuggets can be found by harvesting rocks of fashion. Fashion and tough nuggets can also be found in lab chests. At certain points in the game, you'll unlock crafting recipes to create fashion and tough nuggets, transitioning the resources from finite to infinite. Rad nuggets will not be able to be crafted until 1.0. So I did find these laying around, just laying around, and also the giant stones. The stones of toughness just look like giant. They actually just like they're basically the quartzite nodes, and when you break those, you'll get the tough nuggets. The fashion nuggets look like a variation of the giant pebbles, and when you break those, you will get the fashion nuggets. They each seem to drop about 3. You can also just find them laying on the ground. So the fashion nuggets just look like they look like a shinier pebblet, and the tough nuggets just look like quartzite shards. Where I found these was, I'm sure I haven't found them all, but pretty much if you go to places where you found quartzite before, there's a good chance you're going to find these. I did find a lot of them in the haze. There were a couple behind the oak tree lab, and if you go through the red anthill, the old red anthill, there were some in there. So I would advise going to look, if you're looking for them, go look in the places where you found quartzite before. That's probably where you're going to find them. Now you can also craft them. From what I've seen, I had already had them unlocked because I beat everything on the save that I was loaded into. It looks like that the crafting recipes, which are purchasable from Burgle, so you do have to, or from the terminal or whatever, you can unlock those, I believe, after getting the black anthill chip. So that'll allow you to do those. Now you don't need, and then you'll need the oven obviously to make the level 6 and 7s and the 8 and 9s. So you'll be able to upgrade stuff to at least level 5. But once you get, and then you can also just find these things. You can craft these later on, but you can just find them around the map. So you'll be able to upgrade stuff pretty easily. The upgrade costs are very cheap, and I'll probably jump into the game at the end of the video just to show what the different costs are. But upgrading your armor is going to be super cheap. Like, you're just going to be able to upgrade things very easily now when you see what those cost. Now, moving on to the faction reactivity, the amount of destruction that can be done to larger bases have been lowered. So they're just nerfing the faction reactivity more. Each faction now has a different reputation value before it becomes upset players. Players will no longer be attacked by lots of large creatures. Larvae have been added to the faction reactivity and the waft emitter. That makes sense. I mean, I was expecting this to happen. Buildings destroyed by defensive events now drop small amounts of resources. Base attack difficulty will slowly ramp up over the course of a playthrough. Instead of being able to instantly go from easy to extremely hard over a short period of time, that's going to be good to ease people into it. Base attacks will no longer trigger while in a lab or underground. The waft emitter will no longer work in the haze while the haze is still active. Improved creature spawning locations for base attacks. I'm going to be interested to see if this works because my main base that I use in my main solo save is up in the upper backyard. And I just actually had, while I was waiting for the public test server to open up tonight, I was actually raided by red ants, and the first wave, I don't think any of the ants came in the first wave. The second and third waves were very minimal how many came because the ants don't normally spawn up there. So when I get attacked by them, there's very few of them. Even when I got attacked by spiders, there was not as many as there normally should be. So hopefully that means the raids will actually be at the right level as they're supposed to be. The right number of enemies will get there. Autosave will attempt to trigger right before a payback attack or a mixer event trigger. Okay, so that's okay. That means you'll be able to load. Basically, if you get destroyed, you'll probably be able to reload. Movement, you'll no longer be able to... Okay, we're just going to skip through some of this stuff. Some of these are just bug fixes. I'm just going to skim through real quick. Okay, crafting. Crow feather arrows are awarded per craft increase from 2 to 5. That means you're not going to have to find as many crow feathers. I do prefer to use feather arrows just because I like the trajectory they take, and now this is going to make it even easier to get them. Glue factory name changed to Glue Masher. I'll show you that when I load into the game. Looks pretty cool. The art has been changed. And then we got some localization, accessibility, combat. Now, the final encounter in the Haze Lab has been tuned. Default number of enemies reduced. Additional enemies are added based on the difficulty. Additional harder enemies are added based on player count. Bows now do damage. Okay, wait, I didn't get to... Let's get to this first right here. So I went into the Haze Lab that we had already completed because I jumped into an existing save. For some reason, the infected ladybug was in there. I think there might have been some infected mites in there. We already cleared that whole thing out before, and they were back. So she was pretty easy to deal with. But one thing I will say was I didn't know what was happening when I walked into the area. You'll probably remember if you've done it, that what the easy strat to do was go into the area, open up the door, and lure out most of the smaller enemies, and they'll literally just go out into the water chasing you and drown. Now that door behind you locks, so you cannot get out and you can't like super cheese it anymore. You can probably still cheese the infected ladybug if you use a bow. It's just going to take a while. But I basically just went in and face tanked her because I had the mint mace. That fight's probably going to be a little bit more difficult depending on the number of enemies that are in there going forward, just because you're not going to be able to cheese it as much. Bows can now do damage when fully charging a shot. I didn't try this out yet. Instead of just spamming shots, Spicy Cold Tonic can now trigger burr traps when thrown. I actually should probably try that out too. Maybe when I load them, we'll try that out. Spicy Cold Tonic does have a new animation, which looks pretty cool. We'll show that as well. The pet section, if you like pets, these are good changes. Personally, I don't really spend much time with them. Pets will no longer leave the player when they are unhappy. That's a good one. Pet equipment now gives substantial defensive upgrades. So you're going to get more HP, more damage threshold, more damage resistant. Unfortunately, my pet gnat didn't have any of this stuff on and drowned pretty quickly, like I said. Passive buffs given have been tuned. I have no idea what these are because I don't have any pets. The pet inventory can now be opened directly. To be completely honest, I didn't even know pets had inventory because I never used the pets. The pets have like 10 inventory slots. That's a huge thing to have, especially if you can get a pet gnat to follow you around and not die. Having that at 10 extra inventory slots will basically be like increasing your backpack size by like 33%. Weevil Pet Gravestone has new art. These are so. Let's see. Is there anything in here important? Burgle. This is just kind of changes. A button to view the survival guide. Okay. Okay. Here's a huge one. Told you this was going to happen. Sap catchers can no longer be attached to turrets. Now, the main save that I have these in was the one that I have on the Game Pass version on my PC. So I've not been able to access the public test server. We're going to have to see what happens. I went through and just collected all the sap out of them before I stopped playing to record this video. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens. Will the sap catchers that I already have on the turrets, will they break? Will they stop collecting sap? Or will they just exist there and it's just something you can't do going forward? That's going to be interesting to see. But basically, you're going to want to take advantage of that right now so you can get tons of sap, which we'll talk about later on. They did some optimizations, which is going to be good. The house patio wood panels have been cleaned up. That's one of the places I didn't go. Cookie sandwiches now follow the big food structure. That means you're going to get more things from them when you break them. Creatures. Didn't really notice any of this stuff. The hostile bugs tether more appropriately. I don't know if that means they just track you, including mosquitoes. I mean, the mosquitoes literally track you like a hunting dog looking for prey. Like those things they never stop. So I don't know if that means they're going to be tougher or they're just going to keep following you more. Scarab HE has been halved. Scarab peripheral cone has been reduced. So scarabs are going to be even easier to kill. I remember when scarabs were first added, they were actually challenging. they're pretty easy to kill now, and now with this change, they're going to be even easier to kill because they're going to have half the HP, and they're not going to be able to see you as easily. This is a great one here. Added new burgle quests for killing black ants, antlions, black ox beetles, ladybirds, dust mites, roly-polies, termites, tadpoles, water boatmen, water fleas, and diving bell spiders. I did get the one for tadpoles, so these are definitely in there. That's cool. Definitely glad to see these added. That means you won't get the same repeats over and over again. Ladybird larvae now drop up to 5 spikes each. Well, that's an important thing we'll talk about once I jump into the game. Improved player shadows. Major fixes here. Client now correctly uses ladders. I never had any issue with ladders. Player, let's see. The crow crossbow no longer occasionally misfires. This was happening to me a lot recently, where sometimes the crow crossbow would double shoot or triple shoot, and other times it would look like it did, not shoot any arrows. So that should be fixed. That's good. And then skimming through the rest of these, I'm not going to read all of these, but basically some minor changes here and minor fixes, which are going to be good. Hopefully, overall, your game will run a little bit better. Mom's jeans can no longer trigger underwater. I didn't even know that was a thing. So hopefully your game will run a little bit better. That's kind of what they were doing here with the optimization and the whole point of this. So what I want to do now is I want to jump into the game real quick, just show you some of the new artwork for the cookery, as well as some of the changes to the crafting recipes, and explain to you why certain resources are going to be important to get right now, even if you're not jumping into the public test server, or especially if you're not jumping into it. Well, I loaded into the save and immediately we're getting hit with a payback here. Jesus, they are actually doing work to this. They're going to destroy my bed. So as you can see, there's a bunch of Orb Weaver Juniors here. I don't remember killing spiders recently, but, you know, we haven't played on this save in a little bit of time. Is that the entire raid? It was only 3 of them. They did destroy my bed and the floor down here. So that raid was definitely easier than they normally are. So there's that. Anyway, let's go up top and take a look at the things that have changed. So there you go. If you're interested in the faction reactivity, it looks like they're much easier. I only got attacked by 3 Orb Weaver Juniors because I'm in here by myself. So the first thing I want to look at is the cookery. This is unlocked. Like I said, you can buy it from Burgle for 1,000 raw science. The crafting cost of it is going to be, it costs 9 weed stems, 2 clay, 1 acid gland, and 1 boiling gland. So you're going to need to kill probably a couple of bombardier beetles before you get it, but that's not too bad. The cost of the oven didn't change. So the cookery looks pretty cool, honestly. It's one of the cooler looking stations in the game. It does allow you to cook all the meals. There are some new meals in the game. And we don't have everything unlocked here because I didn't buy them all, though I guess I could go buy them right now. So basically what happens is you cook the things. They only cook one at a time. I'm not sure if that's intended or if that's like not intended. I'm going to let the developers know in their Discord just to see if that's intended or not. Honestly, I could see it going both ways. If you're playing by yourself, you probably don't want to cook a bunch of meals at one time because then they're going to spoil. If you're playing with multiple people, you probably don't want to sit there and have to wait for them to cook. So I'm not sure which way they're going with that. Honestly, if you queued a couple of them up and like you made the first one and then waited until it was done to cook the second one, it would probably still have some freshness left to it before you came back and got it. So anyway, going here to the oven, you're going to see there's some changes here. So the fashion nuggets and the tough nuggets, here's what they're going to look like. You're going to see, this is what the in-game art looks like. I have some of them in the chest. You can find these, like I said, around the map. You get them from they're either laying on the ground or you have to break like a large pebble-looking rock for these and the old quartzite shards for these. The quartzite has been completely removed from the game. You'll notice here that we have Mighty Gloves and Mighty Jewels. There is no quartzite in the game anymore. If you go to the resource tab, they're no longer there. Now, besides finding these, after you beat the Black Ant Hill and turn in the chip, you'll be able to get the crafting recipes for these. You're gonna notice the fashion nuggets only cost 1 sap to upgrade your armor from levels 1 to 5 for levels 1. So it's like, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what's that, a total of 3, 6, 10, 15 sap to get your armor level 1 to 5 once you unlock that recipe. That's super cheap. For weapons, you're gonna actually have to kill larvae or ladybird larvae to get these, if in addition to finding them. This is gonna make fight, like, I really like this change because it's now gonna incentivize combat, and you're gonna see this once we get to the cool tough nugget. The cool fashion nugget costs bug rubber. Again, this is gonna have to make you fight because you need to get the acid glands. You get those from, what is it, the red soldier ants or the black soldier ants, and then also I think larvae drop them. So you're gonna be incentivized to kill them and ladybird larvae and the infected larvae. And then the cool tough nuggets, if you want to upgrade your weapons to level 6 and 7, you're going to need to kill spiders. Now, you might think, oh man, I don't want to kill spiders, but that's okay because look at the cost of these. You only need 1 to make these, 2 to make these. So killing a spider, you're guaranteed to get from a wolf spider or a spider fang, I believe. So it's not, the cost of upgrading is super cheap. So I definitely like the change to the upgrade costs, that because they're going to be much easier to upgrade things, especially once you unlock the crafting recipes. Down here, we're going to go to the smithing station real quick. you're going to notice here's a mask here. You can see it takes fashion nuggets for armor. I didn't notice any changes to the sleek paths. I don't think any of those changed. So not sure if they changed any of the, they didn't mention in the patch notes, and I haven't had time to test them to see if they buffed anything, but those upgrades are going to be pretty straightforward. Here you're going to see we have the fashion nugget and the tough nugget. This looks like quartzite. This looks like that. This looks like that. Actually, I don't know if they actually remove quartzite. Here's the plates and stuff like that. You can't do anything with these anymore. So if you have those, you definitely want to use them up. And then do we actually, yeah, I'm not sure if we even have any quartzite. I don't know if we had any in the chest here or not, but I don't know if they removed it. But what I did in my other save was I went and converted it all into the globs so that I could actually use them. And then here we have the glue masher. This is basically the repair glue station, or the, what was it called? The glue factory. They changed the artwork for it. It looks pretty cool. You can still use the same parts here. I don't believe any of these changed. I think they're all the same. So that definitely looks cool. One other thing is over here in the grinder, you can now make yourself spoiled meat slurry. So once you have some spoiled meat, you can analyze it. It'll unlock the crafting recipe for this. Drop this in here. It makes the spoiled meat slurry. You need that to get pet gnats. And then is there anything else? There were no changes. There's no new weapons, I don't believe. We don't know anything about the embiggening cocktail. Looking down here at none of these things changed. Or I've already mentioned everything that changed there. I don't believe there was anything new on this screen either, as far as I know. Armor, there's no new armors or weapons to my knowledge from what I saw. On here, there are some new meals, but I don't have them unlocked on here. So there's a couple new meals. What were they? I'll have to think about them. There's like a couple tier 1 meals that were added to the game, which should be, they're both like water-based. I think one of them was like something with tadpoles, and the other one was with water fleas or something like that. And then they also added, I think there's water flea roast. You can make put water fleas on the roast. I'm not sure if you could do that before. Maybe they could only be turned into jerky. Building pieces, I don't believe there's any new ones for this. Over here, the new things, we already looked at those. That's going to be the cookery. And that's about, I think that's, yeah, the cookery. And then the glue masher changed. So there's nothing here on this thing. And then new resources. I don't think there was anything here that we haven't already looked at. But like I said, so we got the grub leather scrap. Well, these are, I don't know why these are even on here because you can't make them anymore. I guess I hadn't unlocked them. The pet memorial, that didn't really change, although I guess I just didn't unlock it. There's no new smoothies. And then a couple of things we're going to look at are, what are the costs of the glue masher? I believe that costs the same as it did before. I'm curious to take a look at the things that in the past would have used. The smithing station now uses a tough nugget, a fashion nugget. So these no longer use quartzite. The dew collector did use quartzite as well. I believe somebody said that was changed to pebblets. We'll have to see if that's true. Yeah, that now uses pebblets, so that's easier. And I believe the smoothie, the fuzz on the rocks, also uses pebblets. I think somebody said that as well. So let's check the fuzz on the rocks. Fuzz on the rocks now uses clay, mite, fuzz, and pebblets. So quartzite has been completely removed from the game. You don't have to worry about that. A couple other things we wanted to show off are, we'll go into third person just for this. There's a new animation for the spicy coltana. You'll see that it's got like this smoke coming off it, which is pretty cool. Also, apparently throwing it does something. I haven't thrown it yet. Hopefully we don't throw it away. Actually, is this going to blow up my base? Let's go throw it down here where we won't do any damage, because allegedly it makes spiky burrs come out. I've never even thought about throwing my sword because nothing good could possibly happen to that. I think it's R for me. So it did not, it says it has a chance of triggering a spiky burr. Maybe it doesn't do it every time. It's not doing it there. I don't know what the chance is. A lot of times chances in this game are super low. So maybe we won't get it. I'm just trying to we're destroying our entire, we're going to destroy the wall here. So it says there's a chance for a spiky burr to come out. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there was any changes. They did change, and I'll let you guys explore this so you can see it for yourselves. They did update more of the upper yard up here. There's some more foliage up here. They put a small garden area up here. Those are the changes. I am right now, so far, I do need to play it some more. So far, I am happy with the changes that I've seen in this public test server. The reduced cost for upgrades. It's going to be interesting to see how much you're going to be able to upgrade stuff before you can actually craft the things. I'm not sure how many of them there are around the map. So you're basically going to have to you're going to have to spend time deciding what you're going to upgrade. You're not just going to be able to upgrade everything until you it sounds like beating the black anthill. So anyway, let me know what you think about the changes in the final update before the full release in September in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Mateo Solis, Matthew Campbell, Stephen Van, the Overseer 91, and all my other channel members and patrons. Click the join card on the screen right now or the links in the description to become a member or patron today. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.